Programming an automation to save 30 seconds makes you lose 3 days of work. Modern automation tools didn't arrive all at once. They came in layers. First, simple scripts, then low-code platforms. Today, complete ecosystems that promise to turn any process into an automatic flow in minutes. The problem isn't the promise. The problem is the order in which we try to fulfill it. In many organizations, automation appears before understanding. Tasks are automated that nobody has precisely defined, processes that change every week, and flows that exist only in the mind of one key person. The result isn't efficiency, it's a mechanized version of the original chaos. Here occurs a frequent confusion. Movement is interpreted as progress. Creating flows, connecting tools, watching data move between systems produces an immediate sensation of advancement. Something is happening. Something is executing. But that activity doesn't imply real improvement if the underlying process remains unstable or poorly understood. Premature automation functions as a digital placebo. It momentarily reduces operational anxiety, gives the impression of control and modernization, but introduces silent technical debt. It doesn't break anything immediately. It simply shifts problems forward, where they become more expensive, less visible, and harder to question. The central decision behind almost all failed automations isn't technical. It's methodological. Automating before standardizing is a silent bet that chaos will order itself once encapsulated in code. That almost never happens. A process worthy of automation must meet 3 basic conditions, and none are negotiable. First, it must exist in a stable state. Second, it must repeat with sufficient frequency to justify the effort. Third, it must generate historical data that allows measuring its variability. If any of these conditions fails, automation doesn't eliminate work. It redistributes it in less visible ways. The common error is confusing repetition with stability. A process can repeat every week and still be different each time. Sources change, criteria change, exceptions change. Automating something like this doesn't make it consistent. It just makes it fragile. Let's take a concrete case. A marketing department decided to automate the generation of weekly social media reports. The goal seemed reasonable: save time. The problem was the approach. They never clearly defined which metrics influenced real decisions, which platforms were priorities, or how frequently data access rules changed. Instead of solving these questions first, they directly built a system with 17 different integrations. Every minor update to an API broke the entire flow. Not because the technology was defective, but because the system was automating uncertainty. The dashboard worked only while nothing changed, and nothing in digital marketing stays the same for long. The ignored trade-off always appears at the same point: time invested in building versus time actually saved during the system's lifetime. And automation isn't a static object, it's a maintenance commitment. Each if-then condition adds a decision someone will have to review. Each connection between tools introduces a failure point that almost never gets documented. That's why experienced systems engineers follow an order that seems slow but avoids costly errors. First, standardize the manual process. Then optimize it without eliminating unnecessary steps. Only at the end automate what remains stable. Skipping that order doesn't accelerate progress. It delays it while building the illusion of advancement. Automation doesn't fix chaotic processes. It encapsulates them. It makes them harder to inspect and more expensive to dismantle when they no longer make sense. The limit appears when we do the calculation almost nobody wants to make. Time invested versus time recovered. Not in theory, in practice. A 2024 McKinsey analysis reviewed 237 internal automations in medium-sized companies. The result was uncomfortable. 68% never recovered the initial time investment. They didn't fail technically. They failed economically. The critical threshold is surprisingly low. If a task takes less than 5 minutes to perform manually and occurs less than 5 times per week, it rarely justifies automation. Yet it's precisely these types of tasks that get automated most because they're visible, repetitive, and generate the illusion of wasting time. B-roll, simple table. Renaming files, 30 seconds, 3 hours of development. Here appears the real bottleneck. It's not technical, it's cognitive. Our difficulty accepting that some tasks are too small, too variable, or too exceptional to deserve code. Automating them isn't a rational decision. It's an emotional reaction, a real example. At a fintech startup, a developer invested 42 hours creating a script to process PDF forms. The manual process took about 90 seconds per batch. The argument was classic. This will scale. 3 months later, the script had been used exactly 7 times. The total savings never exceeded 1 hour. The invested time was no longer recoverable. The paradox of modern automation tools is brutal. The easier they seem to use, the easier it is to apply them without criteria. Drag-and-drop interfaces hide the real complexity. A flow that seems simple in Zapier can depend on 5 external APIs, multiple incompatible data formats, and conditional rules that nobody wrote down. And when the original process changes, as it always does, the cost skyrockets. Not dramatically, silently. The system keeps working, but it does so poorly. At a logistics company, an automated tracking system continued applying obsolete rules for 83 days following a regulatory change. Nobody noticed immediately because it didn't fail. It simply started making mistakes. The saved time at the beginning was lost multiplied in manual corrections, lost packages, and loss of trust. The system didn't collapse. It became ballast. And silent ballast is the hardest to justify and eliminate. The consequences of premature automation don't appear in one place. They distribute, they dilute, and that's why they take time to recognize. The IT team inherits fragile systems that nobody fully understands. End users trust incorrect results because they come from an automated system. Authority shifts from human judgment to the flow, even when the flow is poorly designed. Over time, the paradox becomes evident. The time supposedly recovered by automating simple tasks is lost, maintaining a constellation of small, inconsistent, poorly documented systems. None is critical by itself. Together, they become a permanent burden, a concrete case. At a European retail company, an engineer dedicated 19 full days to automating the processing of returns. The system worked well in ideal scenarios. The problem was reality. 37% of returns required manual exceptions for damages, incomplete items, or special policies. The system didn't eliminate work. It shifted it to the customer service team. Instead of reducing friction, it generated 142 false alerts in less than 2 months. Agents stopped trusting notifications. They started reviewing everything manually, just in case. The system remained active, but its original purpose was lost. The highest cost wasn't technical, it was opportunity cost. That time invested in unnecessary automations wasn't used to question obsolete processes. At a financial startup, the team automated the generation of monthly reports that no longer influenced any real decisions. Nobody questioned if they were still needed. They only ensured they were produced without human intervention. 26 months later, someone noticed the obvious. Executives had stopped reading those reports 6 months after implementation. 2 years of perfect automation of something useless. These systems are rarely eliminated. Each represents an investment of time, reputation, and personal effort. Nobody wants to be the one who says, "This was a mistake." This is how zombie systems are born. They work, they consume resources, they don't add strategic value, and they defend themselves through organizational inertia. The final result isn't greater efficiency. It's an additional layer of complexity that slows decisions, hides real problems, and maintains the illusion of technological progress without operational progress. Real efficiency doesn't come from replacing human hands with code. It comes from understanding which problems deserve to exist and which should be eliminated before even thinking about automation. A well-designed system isn't measured by the number of flows it executes, but by its ability to disappear when it's no longer needed. Automating isn't a sign of technical maturity. It's a consequence of it. When a process is stable, repeatable, and significant, automation appears almost as a final detail. When it's not, code doesn't fix confusion, it solidifies it. The next time you consider automating a task, there's a more important question than can it be done? It's this: is this process already clear enough to deserve being perpetuated? If you can't describe it precisely, measure its frequency, and explain its variability, you probably don't need more technology. You need more judgment. The limit isn't in Zapier, nor in Power Automate, nor in N8N. It's in our resistance to doing the boring work of defining, measuring, and questioning before building. Effective automation doesn't arise from the anxiety to seem productive, but from the discipline of first understanding what truly deserves to be improved. That preliminary work isn't visible. It doesn't impress, it isn't boasted about, but it's the only thing that prevents automation from becoming another well-intentioned placebo.